Number 14 says write a quadratic regression equation that would best model the data. So let's go ahead and review how to do that. So step 1, I'm going to turn my calculator on. I just went ahead and cleared it. I'm going to go to Stat. I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm just going to type in this data as it appears. So 4, 4.5, 4, 6.5, 5.5, and then in L2, type in your second set of data. Make sure it's in order though, so it does matter the order you type it in, because these data points are being pushed together, so they're comparing together. It does tell me to do the quadratic regression. I'm just going to go ahead and review the whole thing just because I can, but it already told me what to do. But if you don't know what it is, you want to turn your stat plots on by pressing second stat plot. I want to turn my stat plot on by pressing enter, and it's going to automatically be set up for for a scatter plot, so just graph it. I'm going to press zoom 9 to get it graphed in my my window, so I can see it's probably not linear, and you probably wouldn't even be able to tell what this is per se without me telling you to specifically find a quadratic or an exponential. So the ones we'll give you will not be this messy. It'll be much more clear. But this one is just going to be quadratic because it kind of does go up and then it comes down. It does have a little weird guy there, but it is what it is. So I did say go ahead and find a quadratic regression. So to do that, you're going to press Stat. I'm going to go over to Calc, so press the over arrow, and you're going to go down to Linear Regression is linreg. Quadratic regression is number 5, and don't forget that xreg is number 0. So I'm going to go to quadratic regression, press enter. I do want to go ahead and graph that equation in my window, so I'm going to go ahead and store regression equation by pressing vars. It's this letter right down there. Key, I meant to say. Vars. Go over to yvars, press the over arrow key, and then just press enter to get function, press enter to get y sub 1, press enter, press enter, press enter. Okay, it's going to give you all your stuff for your quadratic regression, so that's my answer. So my equation is y equals, and then I'm just going to take these a value for ax squared, bx plus c. So I'm going to get negative 0.017x squared plus 0.231x plus 0.165. Okay? So there is my equation. If I asked you to extrapolate, I would say maybe find a body length of a 7 or something like that, something outside the data set, and you would just plug in a 7 for x. That's extrapolation. Interpolation is stuff inside the data set. So if I asked you to find body length between 4 or 6.5, so 4.2 would be somewhere inside that data set that my equation should very accurately predict. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead, since I did turn that regression equation on, I'm just going to go ahead and press zoom 9 just so I can see how that guy looks. And again, this is not the greatest data set, but I did specifically tell you to do quadratic, so it doesn't really matter that it doesn't fit. That's just the one I told you to. So quadratic, the best it can do is this. And so that's the equation I'm looking for. Alright, and the last question, it says find the correlation coefficient. This only works for linear problems. So again, I have a data set here, so I'm going to go ahead and 2 plus 7, 1, 2, clear my calculator. I'm going to go ahead and go to Stat, Edit, and I'm going to type in this data set as it appears. So it looks like it's missing a 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not 6, but 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and then negative 1.32, 1.66, 0.77, 0.68, 2.5, 2.48, 4.18, 1.13, 1.63. Okay, it's always nice when they end up with the same number of items there, so that's hopeful. I'm just going to scroll through and make sure. Yep, looks good to me. Alright, I did just say find the correlation coefficient, so you don't actually need to go through that linreg or any of that stuff. To find the correlation coefficient, you're going to press the mode key, and correlation coefficient, if you're using the calculator emulator, you should still be able to press the up arrow key until you get to stat diagnostics, and I want to turn that on. So I'm just going to press over and press enter and turn that guy on, and then I'm just going to quit, second quit, so it gets me out of there. Then I want to go actually run that linear regression, which will give me the stat diagnostics. So stat calc and go to linreg, and if you happen to have more than one, just use the ax plus b, press enter, 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 enter. And it gives you all your stuff you need, but my correlation coefficient, remember that's the number between -1 and +1, telling you how closely the data is related, is 0.56. So my correlation coefficient is, and I'll go ahead and round that properly and get 0.57. And since I've got plenty of time, I'm just going to go ahead and actually turn my stat plots on. Just go turn that on and press zoom 9, just so I can see how it looks. So I can see it's got a positive upward trend, but it is kind of spread out. So it's not, remember that perfect 1 is a perfect straight line. The closer to a straight line you get, the closer to the positive 1 you are. So this guy's kind of spread out, so he's like a 0.5. If he was completely messy and there was no obvious upward trend, he'd be a 0. If he was going downward, then he would be a negative. If he was going downward perfectly, a -1. Otherwise, a -0.5 or something like that. So don't forget that number between -1 and 1 tells you how closely that data is related to a straight line, 0 meaning not related at all, and 1 or -1 being perfect lines.